Imagine stumbling on a 2,000-year-old manuscript that might rewrite history, or uncovering a shipwreck loaded with ancient treasures from across the world. Archaeologists were digging and found something they were not expecting. We're starting with a classic, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in 1947 by a young shepherd in a cave near the Dead Sea, these ancient manuscripts are some of the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century. The scrolls include texts that date back as far as the 3rd century BCE and contain parts of the Hebrew Bible, along with other religious writings. But what makes this discovery so incredible isn't just the fact that these texts have survived for over 2,000 years, it's the mystery surrounding the way they were hidden and preserved. The scrolls were most likely stashed away by a religious community, probably the Essenes, to protect them from Roman invaders. And over the years, a lot of the scrolls have been pieced together and translated, revealing secrets about early Judaism and the origins of Christianity. But the thing is, not all of the scrolls have been deciphered yet. Some are in fragments so delicate they've been kept in controlled environments, and only a select group of scholars have had the chance to study them. Some researchers wonder if there could be even lost texts in these ancient scrolls that never made it into the Bible. Now let's talk about the Uluburun Shipwreck, discovered in 1982 off the coast of Turkey. This ancient shipwreck is amazing. The ship, believed to have sunk around 1300 BCE, was carrying an unimaginable variety of goods that tell us a lot about trade in the Mediterranean at the time. And we're not talking about, a few pots and trinkets. I mean, that stuff's fine, but this ship was like something out of a pirate movie. It was loaded with hundreds of items, including gold jewelry, a ceremonial axe, ivory, tin ingots, and the remains of a cargo of resin for perfume. This shipwreck actually showed the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations. The items found aboard the ship came from all over the ancient world: Egypt, Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and even as far as the Baltic Sea. The ship wasn't just sailing from one place to another, it was a floating piece of history carrying evidence of exchange between cultures and economic activity long before the term globalization even existed. And what's fascinating is that this wreck isn't just about the material items either, it's also shedding light on the technology used at the time, the types of people who sailed these ships and how they interacted with each other. It's pretty incredible. Over in Italy, the Herculaneum Scrolls are being talked about a lot lately in the world of archaeology. Discovered in the early 18th century, these scrolls are the remains of a Roman library buried under 60 feet of volcanic ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, alongside the infamous eruption that destroyed Pompeii. Now, unlike the more famous Pompeii though, which offered this glimpse into the daily Roman life, Herculaneum is known for its large collection of scrolls. Now, of course, for a very long time, the idea of actually reading these things was outlandish. But thanks to recent advancements in technology, scholars have been able to read these ancient texts without physically unrolling them, which would have obviously destroyed them completely. Some of the first full passages of these scrolls were just decoded last year. They're giving researchers insight into ancient Roman literature, philosophy, and even early Jewish writings. It's amazing. These scrolls have been preserved for over 2,000 years, and for most of that time, no one knew they even existed. So as scholars continue to decode them, it's like opening this time capsule holding secrets of the Roman intellectual world. The big mystery still surrounding these scrolls is what else is out there waiting to be discovered. If only we could read every single scroll completely, imagine how much more we could learn about the thinkers and writers of the ancient world. Hopefully one day soon. Next up, we have the Lascaux cave paintings in France, discovered in 1940 by a group of teenagers. These paintings, which are about 17,000 years old, are one of the most remarkable prehistoric sites in the world. Their intricate, detailed depictions of animals like horses and bison and deer. Researchers believe that these paintings could have had ritualistic or spiritual importance, possibly related to hunting or fertility. The discovery of Lascaux changed the way we understand prehistoric human life. It showed that early humans weren't just surviving and bonking each other on the head with clubs like in cartoons, they were creating art like this. They were expressing ideas. They may have had a pretty well-developed culture. Unfortunately, the paintings are extremely extremely fragile though, and the cave was closed to the public in 1963 to preserve them. But replicas have been made, and people can still visit a reproduction of this cave. Still, there's a lot about these paintings that's a mystery. What was their purpose? Did they serve as a kind of early communication or storytelling? One theory is that these images may have been used in rituals to kind of manifest successful hunts. And maybe they're reading too much into it, but that is a pretty cool idea. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799 by a French soldier during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, the Rosetta Stone holds the key to unlocking the mysteries of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The stone itself is this slab of granite, inscribed with the same text written in 3 different scripts: Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic. And while the Greek part was understandable, the hieroglyphs were a complete mystery, but thanks to scholars like Jean-Francois Champion, who cracked the code in 1822, the Rosetta Stone allowed us to finally decipher one of the most complex writing systems of the ancient world. The discovery of the stone was huge. It essentially opened up a whole new chapter in the study of ancient Egypt. Not only did it help scholars understand the language, but it also gave them vital information about Egyptian culture, their religion, and history. Today, the Rosetta Stone is housed in the British Museum, and it's still one of the most important archaeological discoveries ever made. Without it, we'd still be in the dark about a lot of aspects of ancient Egyptian life, and that's something to truly appreciate when you look at it. The Nebra Sky Disk is this small bronze disc, and it's one of the most important artifacts ever found in Europe. Discovered in 1999 in Germany, this 3,600-year-old disc is thought to be one of the earliest depictions of the night sky. The disc features this series of gold symbols, including a full moon, a crescent moon, and stars, that are believed to represent the Pleiades star cluster. The disc is thought to have been used as some sort of ancient astronomical tool or calendar. What makes this discovery so incredible is that it gives us a rare glimpse into how early civilizations understood the cosmos. The disc could be evidence that people in the Bronze Age were not only interested in the stars, but also had a fairly advanced understanding of what goes on up in the sky. The Nebra Sky Disk has rewritten what we know about prehistoric astronomy in Europe. A little reminder that, ancient cultures were often more sophisticated than we often give them credit for. In the heart of Los Angeles, California, there's a site that's been revealing prehistoric life for over 50,000 years, the Brea Tar Pits. These pits, which were discovered in the 19th century, have the preserved fossils of animals that roamed the area during the Pleistocene epoch. Mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths. The thick tar would have been like quicksand for these animals, trapping them as they tried to drink from the water that once surrounded the pits. So the site's become one of the best sources of Ice Age fossils in the world. They're still finding new discoveries here, helping us learn more about the wildlife that existed thousands of years ago in what is now Southern California. Imagine walking through a marshy landscape when suddenly you trip over something. Was it a log? A rock? Well, no, it turns out it's a perfectly preserved dead body that's been there for over 2,000 years. That's exactly what happened with the discovery of bog bodies in Denmark. These bodies, preserved in the acidic, oxygen-poor environment of the bogs, have been remarkably well preserved, with skin, hair, and even their internal organs still intact. The first of these bodies was discovered in the early 20th century, a Bronze Age man from about 2000 BCE. Other bog bodies have been found across Europe as well, in Germany, the Netherlands, the UK, Sweden, Poland, and Ireland, but a big chunk of them seem to come out of Denmark. Many of them date back to the Iron Age, and the conditions in which they were found seem to suggest they were sacrificed or executed a lot of the time. The preservation is so incredible that forensic scientists have even been able to reconstruct the faces and analyze their diet and health. It's just pretty crazy. Hidden away in the heart of Europe, the Vinča Civilization, which existed around 6,000 years ago in what is now Serbia, is one of the most fascinating and least talked about discoveries in archaeology. The Vinča culture left behind a legacy, early urbanization and advanced craftsmanship, and while it predates the ancient Egyptians and Mesopotamians, it's often overlooked in the history books. What sets the Vinča apart is their incredible system of symbols, often called the Vinča script, which some researchers believe may be one of the earliest forms of writing. These symbols show up on pottery, figurines, tons of other artifacts. The script has never been fully deciphered though. The Vinča people were also skilled in metalworking, pottery, and agriculture, making them one of Europe's first true civilizations. One of the most mysterious and controversial archaeological finds in the world has to be the Shroud of Turin. This piece of cloth, which measures about 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide, has the image of a man who appears to have been crucified, leading many to believe this is the burial shroud of Jesus Christ himself. The shroud has been kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy for centuries, but no one really knows where the thing comes from. You could say it's shrouded in mystery. Anyway, the image on the cloth is created through a process that scientists still can't fully explain. Some believe it was formed by some sort of chemical reaction that happened during the burial. Others think it was just an artistic creation from the medieval period, even though carbon dating from the late 80s seems to show the shroud is from the 14th century. A lot of people still believe that it's way older. To this day, the Shroud of Turin is one of the most debated and mysterious archaeological finds. With all that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.